Welcome, everybody, back to the Talk of the Town podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and this is our very first Euro 2024 preview show. As you can see or hear, I'm joined by my co-host and Dunstable Town Vice Chairman, Mr. Matty Carrington. Matty, how are you, sir?
Yeah, not bad. This is going to be a bit unusual talking about anything other than Dunstable Town, but
I know.
should be fine.
Not that we're slim on content, but we thought we'd leave Steve. We thought we'd leave Steve alone for a couple of weeks and let him crack on with all things Dunstable. We have a very special guest joining us as well. Somebody recently sat down and interviewed Rob Key, the head of the England Cricket Association. My good friend, Mr. Mel Gomez. Mel, how are you, sir?
Very well, thank you, Andy. Really pleased to join you.
No problem, mate. No problem. Pleasure to have you. Like I say, this is our first Euro 2024 preview show. We're going to be bringing you these throughout the summer over the next 5 to 6 weeks. The Talk of the Town podcast is going to be previewing mainly the England games, but we're talking all things Euros. We've got some great guests lined up. A former England player as well, all being well, is coming to join us at the end of next week. But Mel, you are our guest, mate. Let's get into it. What did you make of the recent England squad announcement? Any surprises in there for you? Obviously, the big headline was, well, they made it a big headline. Anyone who knows football kind of knew this probably was going to happen. But you never know with Southgate. He's a very loyal man. And loyalty, as we know in football, can only take you so far. Marcus Rashford left out of the squad. Raheem Sterling, no great surprise. What did you make of when the squad was announced yesterday?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by any of it, really. I'm glad that some of the players that are called surprises, like Andy Wharton and Eze, I'm glad they're in. I thought they would be in. For me, wasn't surprised Rashford was out. He hasn't played for a while. Southgate's always said that he'd pick players on form and who were playing regularly. No one even mentioned Mason Mount. I don't think that was a surprise either. I think a lot of the players he always picked and haven't played for a while weren't going to be considered. Sterling hasn't been in the last few squads, and certainly hasn't played a lot for Chelsea, so that wasn't a surprise for me. Chilwell, they thought he might take as a left back, but he hasn't played a lot. James has hardly played, so I'm not really surprised about his omission. But yeah, encouraging he picked Wharton and Eze. He's always like Palace anyway, so I wasn't that surprised on that. And it's quite a big squad, so he's still got to leave 7 out. So the only player I thought he might have picked that wasn't in there is Mitchell from Palace as a left back. But I think he's the fullbacks he's gone with fullbacks that can tuck inside a little bit. So Gomez maybe on the left side, Shaw as well. So it potentially could lead into playing 3 at the back or John Stones pushing up into midfield.
Still a surprise that Jordan Henderson didn't make it, bearing in mind how loyal. Southgate has probably been the most loyal to Henderson out of all the managers that he's ever had. I mean, the move to Saudi Arabia didn't work out, and then it probably dawned on him quite lively that he had to go to Ajax to get first team football, albeit they finished 20 odd points behind the eventual league winners. Did that surprise you, Mel? And like I said at the start of the show there, Southgate's loyalty has been to his detriment, maybe. And this maybe says to a lot of people, this is his final tournament. We don't know. There's talks of a contract on the table going into the World Cup. But does this speak more volumes about Southgate saying, do you know what? I'm really going to have a go here. And we mentioned on our Dunstable podcast, our manager, Joe Deeney, said about loyalty to players. And that only carries you so far. But Jordan Henderson, did that one really surprise you?
He said in his press yesterday, I think if Henderson had been playing regularly, I think he would have taken him. But he's been out injured for a while since he's been to Ajax. Obviously, Ajax had been on a terrible run even before he got there. But had he been playing regularly, I think he might have got there because there hadn't been strength and depth in central midfield. But with Wharton and the Manio, if I'm saying it right, Man United both coming through, I think he's got a bit more freedom there. But I think he would have taken Henderson as part of a 26-man squad had he been fit, because he's popular in the group. He's a bit of a leader, and tactically he comes on. If you're 2-0 up, or maybe he might come on in a group game or something like that as someone, and he wouldn't have minded not playing. But having not played, it's great. I think he's taking Wharton instead. Or Wharton's in the squad, whether we're getting the final.
Yeah, there's going to be. I think there's going to be a few surprises. I mean, out of this squad, obviously he's got a cut 7. Matty, what did you make of the squad? Obviously, a few of your Liverpool guys in there as well. Left back's definitely an issue. Me and you were chatting on text today about the left back situation. Shaw, Southgate kind of mentioned it in his press conference yesterday. Luke Shaw is going to be very, very touch and go. Probably not going to make it, but they've given him every chance. We're going to get onto the left back situation, because I think the left side of the pitch for England, ever since I've been an England fan, I can remember, watching England games. There's always been an issue. We've had Paul Scholes out on there. I've seen David Beckham play left midfield. We've had Steven Gerrard out there. We've never, since Stuart Pearce and Ashley Cole, we've never really, that's left side of the England team has always been subject to like some debate and argument how this great nation, we've got the best league in the world, but we can never seem to find anything consistently on the left side of the pitch. What did you make of the squad that Gareth's sending to Euro 2024?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few surprises that was in there. I mean, I was very surprised to see Quansah, who, spoiler alert, might feature in my team. But it's good to see that there's quite a bit of youth going in there. In regards to the left back issues, I think I'm right in saying Gareth seems to like playing with three at the back more than most. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. And when you consider you've got players like Joe Gomez, who can literally play any position in the back, 8 positions, I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. And obviously, the other centre backs can play sort of a left-sided role within that as well. So yeah, I mean, the one surprise that I had was the admission of James Ward-Prowse. I think he's not had a blazing season, but he's a really good option in midfield. Can strike a ball better than most, and when the chips are down, I always seem to remember that he can usually come up with a decent free kick, and it's a good penalty option. So he surprised me because I think I was having a look beforehand because I just assumed he was injured. He seems to have been ever present pretty much for the West Ham team, and I think he's filled quite a big hole that Declan Rice left when he left for Arsenal last summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm glad, like Mel said at the start of the show, I'm glad he went with the lads from Palace. I think they really bring something to the team. Ward-Prowse seems to be that kind of, maybe not Matt Letizia kind of ilk, where he was great for his club, but never really got a look in for England. That seems to be, it's been a bit of a trend with England over the years. I can name you, there's so many players that you think, wow, you look at their caps for England, and it might have been the era that way around. You look at like Robbie Fowler and Ian Wright. Great strikers, never getting a look in because you've got Alan Shearer and Michael Owen, and you've got that kind of player. So it might just be, if you look at the midfield and you look at like Grealish, Saka, Bellingham, I can see Ward-Prowse maybe in a squad. Whether he wouldn't be nowhere near my starting 11 for England. I think, like you say, he's probably one of the best dead ball takers since Beckham for England, I'm going to say. But then you look round now and, you've got Bellingham, you've got Saka, you've got, Conor Gallagher's a decent player in there as well. So definitely interesting. Mel, do you think this is Gareth Southgate's last tournament as England manager? Like I said at the start, there's potentially a contract offer on the table. There was many links with Man United, but in the last 10 minutes, just before we started hitting record, Man United are apparently in talks with the Ipswich Town manager. So not too many options for Gareth on the table at the minute. We're only sitting here just coming up to the end of May. So plenty of jobs could come up within the Premier League, Leicester City could be coming up. Do you think this is Southgate's last tournament as England manager?
Yeah, so he's got, I think I'm right in saying he's got a contract till December. So I think whether we win it or we don't win it, I think it probably will be his last tournament, and he can probably go in the agreement that he'll still be paid for a few more months and then take another job elsewhere. So I don't think he'll be desperate to do a pre-season somewhere. He's, ideally, if we just won a tournament in July, he won't be wanting to go straight back into work. He might even do some sort of handover. So
mate, if we win the tournament in July, none of us are going back to work.
It's a very good point. That's a very good point. But yeah, I do think it probably will be his last tournament. Yeah, whatever. I mean, the next tournament's in the US. I mean, it's very hard to see if we don't win the tournament, him staying on with this squad. But and then again, if we do win it, he's had 4 major tournaments, which is more than most international managers do. So if you win it, he might just think, well, that's a great time to go.
In your opinion, Mel, and I heard this on TalkSport the other day, and for me, the answer is yes. Do you think Gareth Southgate has progressed this England team more than any other recent manager? I mean, if you look at statistically wise, easy for me to say, Sven-Göran Eriksson, stats wise, was our best manager since Sir Bobby. I think Southgate's moved us on tenfold. I mean, we were a penalty kick away from winning the Euros. We got to a semi-final of a World Cup. He's labelled as, you know, a boring manager and not a brave manager. Safegate, a lot of people call him in the media and on the radio. For me personally, I think he's moved us on to as high as he can take us. I just think I'd like to see someone else. Just that we don't need to go many more levels. Jeez, we made a Euro final, we've made a semi-final of a World Cup. Mel, in your opinion, has he taken us as far as he can take us?
Well, I think the first bit of the question there was, has he taken us more further than any other England manager? I would say in the 40 plus years that I've been following England, the two managers where there was a big tactical and technical change was after Taylor, who was an awful manager, and then you had Venables and Hoddle coming back to back, and technically and tactically they took us, to different levels. We then went backwards again under Keegan tactically. I think Southgate took over after one game of Allardyce, and then prior to that, Capello. Look, I think So I think you look at the first World Cup in 2018. We played passing and moving. I think, and it might have been the group games, but you saw us passing and moving in a way we probably hadn't done since Venables and Hoddle. Obviously, he worked under both Venables and Hoddle, so that's probably an influence. It looked in both that World Cup, the 2018 World Cup, and the Euros in 2021. He was lacking a bit tactically when we got to about 60 minutes in big games. It happened in Croatia in the World Cup, happened again in Italy. Watching that game, I think we've got to change it here. We're going to get outnumbered. Changes it a bit too late in both games, and we didn't win those. I thought we were a better team against France by a long way in the last quarter-final of the World Cup, and I think we scored a penalty there. I think not only do we beat France, we probably win the tournament. So I'd say, you have to really judge his legacy at the end of this tournament, because this is probably the strongest side we've got talent-wise. There's obviously weaknesses in left back potentially, and maybe cover at centre back and maybe covering central midfield. And you can say even maybe the keeper's not perfect, but you've got to say with the attacking six players you could have in this team is probably going to be as good as any in Europe.
Matty, do you think, like Mel said, this is probably, we heard like the golden era with Beckham, Scholes, all them guys. That was apparently like the best era of English football players we had as a squad. When you go through this squad and, you look at like a Declan Rice, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, all this Saka, all these guys, Jack Grealish. In your opinion, in all the years that you've been watching England, do you think this is our best squad of players we've got? And now it's just a case of, look, let's just take that final step, because, like I said, we were a penalty kick away from winning the Euros. We nearly saw an England football team win a tournament in our lifetime. Do you think this is the best squad of players that we've had in your England fandom?
I don't think this is the best collection of players. However, I think this is the best collection of the actual team working together. So, as you say, you and I, all three of us, kind of grew up in the 90s and the early 2000s. So we remember the likes of Owen and going to Germany and doing them 5-1 over there. But there's always been something wrong in terms of the preparation, everything like that. I think this squad at the minute kind of reminds me, and again, I was quite young when it happened, but reminds me of Italia '90 under Bobby Robson, because they went into that tournament, very much unfavoured. They were getting criticised quite a lot in the press, and the way that Bobby was able to gel the team together, using the likes of Gaza and the likes of Lineker, some big marquee people. I think this is why the squad have gelled as well as they have. And my only concern with Southgate is, as you said earlier on, he's too safe. I obviously, from the 2021 European Championships in the final, it was itching out for someone to come on and have a bit of flair and to kind of maybe change the game. And he brings Sancho on with the last kick of the game to then miss some penalties. But unfortunately, I think things like that may go against his legacy. But yeah, I mean, definitely the best chance that we've got. I mean, I can't think of many other teams in this tournament that would pose England a problem. Yeah, yes, you've got you've got France, Italy, and a couple others, in Germany, obviously, because it's on the home soil. But there's not many others that I think would pose them a problem on the way to the final. I think ultimately the main issue that they have is what happens if Plan A doesn't work, because I don't think he's got much Plan B or Plan C.
Definitely got the players for a Plan B and
Mm.
Plan C. Matt mentioned their Italian 90. Very much knowing that me and you are, for those that don't know, obviously people, I'm a huge Tottenham fan. Paul Gascoigne is one of my favourite players of all time. Mel's a Tottenham fan as well. Italian 90 was very much known as Paul Gascoigne's tournament. Jude Bellingham and this tournament, Mel, for everything that he's done over in Madrid, do you really think that he could have that kind of impact that Paul Gascoigne had in Italian 90?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I do think so. I think going back to Italian 90, what really changed, and I'm probably a bit older, so the first World Cup I watched was 82. So by Italian 90 was my third World Cup. And in 82, we went in there with a good reputation. Brazil were obviously big favourites and Italy ended up winning it. But in 82, you touched on it earlier about Andy not picking our best players. In 82, Glenn Hoddle was the best player in the country by a mile. Spurs won the FA Cup, got to the League Cup final, could have won the league, probably should have won the Cup Winners' Cup. Hoddle was the best player. The only game he started was a dead rubber. Didn't come on when we needed to. So, we hadn't used our talented players in 82. In 86, again, Hoddle came in after the Robson injury and the Wilkins suspension. In 1990, Gascoigne played, so that was a difference. But the real difference, actually, was with our attacking players. And you had Gascoigne, you had Barnes, and you had Waddle. In that first game against Ireland, they were nullified. So we were playing a 4-4-2, and Waddle and Barnes were tracking back against their fullbacks. And it took the players, and it took, Don Howe, and it took, there's a lot of people claim credit for it. But they spoke to Robson after that game. We changed tactics, and we ended up playing three at the back. Mark Wright came in, played as a sweeper, and you had Waddle and Barnes getting a bit more freedom. And that was effectively the big change. I think what will be interesting in this is a bit how much freedom all of these players get. So Bellingham could do that, but it's possible because it's so many attacking players, Bellingham might not get as much freedom, but he's a match winner. Foden's a match winner. Palmer's a match winner. Harry Kane's a match winner. We're full of them. So yes, I think Bellingham could have that impact, and he could be a match winner and win that tournament. But I think in this case, we've got a few.
No, 100% agree. I mean, I personally think that Jude Bellingham could, if given the freedom, you only got to look at him when he plays for Madrid to see the freedom that he's got. I mean, Matt, a lot of people always mentioned about that England, why can't we get these players playing like they do for like a Man City? Or like when you get like a Foden and a Grealish, it's a very easy thing to say, but getting them to play like a Man City or or a Liverpool or or any of the top 4 or 5 teams is very difficult. It's all right saying, "Yep, look at these names that we've got in that squad." It's only over recent years that we've really got them to play as a team, quote unquote. Because like I mentioned earlier, I grew up with the Beckham, Scholes, but all them guys, and I've seen Steven Gerrard play left midfield. Oh, we can't get Lampard and Gerrard in the same team. Southgate's got that kind of problem now. You look at like people are talking Jack Grealish could be on the bench. Conor Gallagher, we're not sure what's going to. Anthony Gordon is very highly tipped to start out wide. Does that mean Saka drops down? You look at the England bench now, and you could be looking at Grealish, Saka, that kind of ilk, and you just hope Southgate, like Mel said earlier, that you want to be brave. And if you're looking around on the bench and you're seeing Jack Grealish sit there, I mean, Jack Grealish started the Euros on the bench, and that first game was crying out for him, and I think it was the crowd that eventually got Southgate to actually make his mind up. And you've only got to see Wembley was only half full then, because obviously coming out of COVID times, and the stadium, just the people that were there just erupted. Do you think that this squad will not make Southgate be a bit brave, but when he looks round like behind him and he sees like maybe an Ollie Watkins sitting there, James Maddison, I hope goes, because I've seen him play a lot for Tottenham. I think he's very skillful on the ball. He can unlock a defence in the blink of an eye. Will he be one of the ones to miss out? I hope not. But do you think that this squad alone, Matt, will make Southgate a braver manager?
Well, you'd like to think that he'd be brave enough to make those big calls. After all, that's what he's paid to do. I think I'm hopeful that he's going to learn from the mistakes of the previous two tournaments and kind of go with his gut and his feelings, which ultimately may prove to mean that we win a few extra games and get to another final. Again, I worry about the lack of being able to change a game if it's not working. But I guess time will tell. And he's got a good backroom staff with him. Again, the players that he's got, the majority of them have come through from the 2018 tournament. So they've got more experience. And, they've been there. They've almost won it twice. But you'd like to hope that the more senior players within that squad are going to be more able to speak to Gareth and say, maybe put their two together thing. And because it takes a good. I think the best managers out there, they do listen to the people around them. Ultimately, it's their call, but they do listen to others around them. So it doesn't mean that Joe Bloggs in very 99 still screaming to have Harry Kane off because he hasn't scored yet or anything like that. But
Don't do a Bayern Munich and take Harry Kane off when you need goals. The man is literally the greatest finisher I've seen in my life, and you don't get me started on that.
I mean, you say that, but he hasn't even hit the top 20 of the Premier League goal scorers this season. I mean,
yeah, it's true. But when he comes back to this country, he is going to break Alan Shearer's record. I'm just saying, Arsenal fans, don't start tweeting at me. Mel, if you're Southgate, who is the 7 that misses out, and who is maybe the one that you think maybe could miss out but could surprise us by getting in the squad? You look at like a Joe Gomez or a Eze, players like that. I think Joe Gomez, just because of the whole, like Matt said at the start, the left, I think he's got to go. Just because at the minute it's looking like, we're going to go through our 11s in a minute that we would pick. At the minute it's looking like Kieran Trippier could start left back, and as good as Trippier is, I don't like the whole right foot playing at left back. I mean, what do you think? If you were Southgate, Mel, who are the 7 that miss out, and who maybe surprises and makes a squad?
Yeah, I think, so the 7, I think, at the minute, there's 11 that are named as defenders in that squad, plus Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, considering you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who could, if you change the game, could play as an attacking right back or in that position, I think he can afford. Let's assume Luke Shaw's injured; he's not going to make it. So let's say Luke Shaw's, which by the sounds of it, he's injured; he's not going to make it. So he's one of that 11 that misses out of the 11 defenders. And then I don't think Dunk will make the final squad. He's not been playing fantastic. He didn't have a great game in his last England appearance. He's not been on brilliant form. And then I haven't seen enough of Quansah. So I think maybe Quansah might be the surprise, and was a surprise pick, but might not make it. So they're the 3 defenders out of the 11 I'd leave out, in the knowledge that you've also got Alexander-Arnold. Trafford as a keeper is probably going to be unlikely to make it, so that's 4. Of the midfielders, I don't think Curtis Jones will make it, so that's 5. And then it gets a bit more difficult when you get to the attacking midfield players. I think Bowen might miss out, which leaves 6. And you sort of touched on it there, Andy. Personally, I'd like to see Maddison go. I don't know if Southgate really fancies him. The last game that he played, he came on for England and set up the winning goal. He's a match winner. He can do a lot of things that a lot of other players can't do. So I would take him. So you're then looking at one of the other sort of attacking players or midfielders to miss out.
Ivan Toney or Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, and I think he might take Toney because of penalties. But Toney has been off form for the last sort of dozen games really, or at least half a dozen games. He's not having a good run. But yeah, I think it could be Toney, because I think you touched on it earlier about the style of football. And I think with these type of players, you can play an identity, and you might even be able to get away, if Harry Kane was injured, to play with someone like Bellingham or Foden as a false number 9. So on that basis, yeah, I think Toney.
I'd love to see Ollie Watkins go, just for the pace issue. I think you've got a midfield like ours putting in balls in behind. I mean, Kane loves coming in deep. He loves getting the ball to feet, and his link-up play, I've always said this, and this is with my Tottenham hat on, I think Harry Kane's link-up play is some of the best I've ever seen. And I watched quite a few Munich games this season, albeit because I just wanted to see how Harry Kane was getting on. And even his link-up play over there was absolutely tremendous. So I think if you've got an Ollie Watkins running in behind and pure pace to burn, I personally would take Ollie Watkins in my squad. I think Southgate, he could go with all three. He could go Kane, Watkins, and Tony. I personally think Watkins might just miss out. And I'm hoping it's not the kind of Jermaine Defoe situation where he missed out for Theo Walcott all them years ago. Defoe was banging form, banging in goals for us, and he left him out and took Theo Walcott, and obviously didn't see the pitch. But Matt, what about you, mate? Who do you think might be left out? Any surprises that you think might make the squad? I mean, I know me and you touched this morning, not only with your Liverpool hat on. You threw a curveball into me this morning.
I did, yeah. Yeah, so in regards to the keepers, I probably think it's either Trafford or Henderson that misses out. Yeah, you don't need more than three. I think maybe Trafford may go along more for the experience. Obviously, he's an under-21 World Cup winner, so it's maybe the next logical step. I've then said about the other lad, Branthwaite. I just don't think he's has he even appeared for England yet? I'm not sure. Then Manu, the Man United lad. I think this is probably a tournament too early for him. I've gone Conser as well, and I think Wharton. Maddison actually misses out for me. Yeah, I know. Obviously, he's done he's done a great job with Tottenham, but again, I just don't think he's a fancy player, and there's too many other players that can essentially play that position. And Eze for me, he's a good player for Palace, but again, maybe a tournament too early for him. Personally, I think obviously Kane leads the line; it's a given there. But I think Cole Palmer will play a big part. He's obviously the leading English goal scorer in the Premier League this season, so I think he may feature. But yeah, I think Tony goes as well, just because, as you say, the chances of penalties might be there, and he's a good option to come off the bench, I think. But yeah, that's my 7, mate.
I think Eze could be a surprise. I would take him. I think he can. What England have, when we go back to Italian 90, we took Gascoigne, kind of on the scene, but it was really his breakout tournament. Everyone's like, Paul Gascoigne. I think Eze, I'm not putting him in the same ilk as Paul Gascoigne by any means, because Paul Gascoigne is Paul Gascoigne, in my opinion, greatest England player to ever live in my era. Eze, for me, from what I've seen of him, and I spoke to a few lads that follow him week in, week out, just pure raw talent that could just come onto the scene, and people. But when Wayne Rooney come on, played against Turkey, everyone was like, "Wow!" No one expected him to get called up. No one expected this wasn't a Theo Walcott, Jermaine Defoe thing, because Walcott didn't see the pitch. Rooney come in against Turkey, if I remember, and absolutely blew everyone's mind away. And everyone's like, I think Eze could have that kind of same impact, and that might be Southgate going, do you know what? Yeah, I could look round on the bench, and what a player to bring on. Just pure pace, someone that can run with the ball at his feet, go past people. We mentioned Paul Gascoigne. Eze, it's definitely someone that can do that. If you look at Bellingham, but then you look at like Jack Grealish doesn't exactly fly past people. Saka hit and miss whether he does. Personally, a lot, again, no Tottenham bias. I like Saka. I think he's a good player. For me, though, Eze just usually that I don't know. It's something about him that I really think, wow, we might say a tournament too soon. I'm taking him. And if we're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go in the knockout stages, and we need a bit of magic, and we need get all your best attacking players on the pitch. And for me, he's one of them. So we'll see. Let's get into our teams then, lads. England versus Serbia, 16th of June, 8 o'clock kickoff is our first game. Mel, you've gone with 3-2-4-1. Pickford, Walker, Maguire, Gomez at the back. Declan, Rice and John Stones in midfield. Saka, Foden, Bellingham and Palmer and Harry Kane up front. Explain, my friend.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier about talking away that how do you play the way that teams play in the league? Well, actually, Man City have shown the way to play in the league. They've got an identity. They've got a style of football. They push a centre back in. They push one of their back four. It was Stones for a large part of last season and some of this season before he's injured. Otherwise, it might have been one of the fullbacks or both of the fullbacks. They push in. They can't make that midfield a bit tighter, and it gives them the room to play 4 attacking players plus a striker. So, where's this England squad got its great strengths? It's in those attacking players playing behind Kane. So it gives Bellingham that freedom to play in the role he's got at Real Madrid, and also when we're pushing back. And I think you can do this against Serbia in the opening game. I think if need to, under pressure, Stones can drop off, go slots into a back four, Bellingham can drop further back and he can drop a bit deeper. Foden can drop off, and all the players can tuck in a little bit if they have to. So I think by having those players, Gomez and Walker can both play their positions. They can either play both as fullbacks, or they can both tuck in and play as the left and right side of a back three. So I think that sort of talks a little bit about the shape. You know, you touched on this earlier. You know, I think on form you've got to have Foden in, you've got to have Palmer in, you've got to have Bellingham. So that's the team I'd start with. I totally agree with what you just said there, Andy. I would definitely have Eze in my squad, and I think he can be a player that can turn a game. And in my squad, I'd also like to see, you know, if you do want to change that shape and you do want to just have four at the back and take one of those out and out attacking players off, have someone like Walton on the bench or Man United who can sort of both break up play but also pass and move and go forward. And I think Walters could do that really well. So that's starting 11 if everyone's fit for me.
Good choice, mate. No, I'm not really going to argue it. Mine's a little bit different, nothing major. Matty, you've gone 3-4-1-2 with Pickford in goal, a back three of Kyle Walker, John Stones, and you got your Liverpool. I'll let you. Your Liverpool man's in?
Yeah. I chose it. So I was torn between myself and Gomez. Again, you know, I'm not going to sit here as though I'm, you know, not partisan, but I've watched a lot of Liverpool games this season.
How'd you say his surname?
Quansah.
Quansah's in, so he's in a back three for you.
Yeah.
With a midfield, you've got the 4 and then you've got the 1. So you're 4. Foden on the right, Trent Alexander and Declan Rice in the middle, with Saka on the left, Jude Bellingham behind a front 2 of Kane and Palmer.
Yeah, so as I say, I'm not going to sit here without a partisan hat. Obviously, I've got my England out on the minute. Might as well get my Liverpool scarf out from somewhere. Quansah has impressed me throughout the season. I was very tempted to go for Gomez as well, but I think because alongside Stones and Walker, very experienced centre backs. I think if you look at the games he played alongside Virgil this season, Quansah's been head and shoulders one of our best players this season. I put Foden on the right just because I think that's where he plays pretty much all the time in his best position for Man City. Alexander, Arnold, and Declan Rice. I think because obviously it gives you the options that Trent can move to a right back if need be, and you know his forward balls this season. Yes, I know it hasn't been the most successful season for Liverpool, but I think the wheels came off a little bit when Trent got injured. And he's able to pass and pick out passes better than most within the game at the minute. Saka on the left for me, again, I think Quansah can play that left-sided role. And obviously Bellingham, again, I'm going with their strength of where I think they play their best, rather than how it plays within a particular system. But Bellingham is, in my opinion, better going forward just behind the front 2. Obviously, as you say, you can't miss out Kane because he is going to be leading the line. Palmer, I went for a front 2, but essentially you could mix that around and have Bellingham and Palmer playing off Kane. But for me, it's a good team. I know I've put a curveball in there with a couple of players, but obviously this is why I love football, because everyone's got a different opinion. It doesn't make us wrong.
Yes, mate, it does. Football is a game of opinions. And talking of opinions, Matty, the gaffer, Steve, has sent me his starting England 11. He's picked his first team, not a Dunstable Town team. Steve has gone 4-2-3-1. He's got Pickford in goal. He's throwing some curveballs here as well. Walker, Stones, Braithwaite? What's his name? The Everton guy?
Braithwaite, yeah.
Braithwaite and Shaw, if fit, he's put. Trent Alexander, Declan Rice. The 3 in front of them, he's gone Foden on the right, Bellingham, Gordon on the left, and Harry Kane up front. We mentioned Braithwaite quite a few times in this episode, Mel. Could this be a curveball from Southgate? We're talking about people not making the squad. Could he even make the starting 11?
For me, definitely makes a squad. He's good on the ball, great left foot. When I picked a team on Twitter maybe a few months ago, I actually had Braithwaite ahead of Maguire. But I think if Maguire is fit and he's fit enough to play, he'll start ahead of Braithwaite. I think Braithwaite's the first choice cover of the centre backs there, particularly of Maguire, based on the fact that I've got Gomez and Walker tucking in as well. So yeah, for me, I think he goes. He definitely goes.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I've gone Pickford in goal. Back three of Walker, Stones, Maguire. I know a lot of people mentioning Harry Maguire never ever lets England down. He really turned it around at Man United, and that's to kind of take a little bit of credit for turning it around in what is a goddamn awful team. Albeit that Eric Ten Hag, his hands have been tied a little bit there. Not going to get into the whole Man United thing, but for me, Maguire never lets his country down. He'll put his head where a boot should be. He's just never lets us down. I think something happens to that man when he puts on an England shirt in major tournaments. I'm going to have Rice and Grealish just in front of them. For me, you've got to get Jack Grealish in your team, in your starting 11. I think he just offers you something on the ball. His work rate off the ball, for me, is tremendous. And we often worry about England teams tracking back and, in the latter stages of games where we maybe are 2-1 up or, with Southgate being a big negative. I'd love to see Grealish just in the dogfight there in the middle. I know we've seen him out on the left. We've seen him out on the right. For me, I'm putting Grealish in the dogfight. I'm putting Saka out on the right, Bellingham, Foden and Gordon, and Super Harry up front. That is that's my team. But like Matty, like you say, it's all subject to change. I mean, Matty, just before I'm going to get up some fan submissions, who do you think will be... We've got Jude Bellingham. Apart from that, who do you really think could stand out and be a superstar for England in this tournament?
For me, I like to think either Saka or Palmer. Saka has got points to prove after, not that he has anything to prove to most people, but obviously you get the idiots online posting the crap about him after missing a penalty. It's the next European tournament after missing that. It's the ideal chance to come out and prove the naysayers. But again, I'm going back to Cole Palmer, leading English goal scorer in the Premier League this season. I think, especially if Kane doesn't deliver, which I'd hope he will, but I think he gives another option and essentially will give that other dimension to hopefully an England attacking team.
Mel, just before I get on to a few other fan submissions of their 11s, Scotty, Dunstable will be known to everyone at Dunstable Town. Scotty, I'm not reading out your 11 because you sent me half of the players that aren't even in the squad. But one point Scotty did make, Mel, interesting, just wrapping up today's show before I get onto the submissions. England goalkeeper. Does it kind of worry you? We mentioned at the start of the show. Again, it comes back to people not letting England down, but Jordan Pickford pretty much nailed on to start. Scotty says, look, you've got Pickford in there. You pick someone in the squad that's got relegated with Burnley. You've got Aaron Ramsdale, who doesn't really play for Arsenal. In my opinion, is a great keeper. Again, no Tottenham bias here. I think Ramsdale's a really good keeper. Mel, is the goalkeeping position still a worry as we head into the Euros?
Yeah, look, I don't think we're overly strong there, but Southgate's argument would be that Pickford's only really made one mistake that's ever led to a goal. That was in the last game, but apart from that, he's not really made a big error. He saves penalties. I think his distribution, the thing that would probably stand out. But yeah, if he was to get sent off, and he is the type of keeper that you think there's a risk of him getting sent off, or if he was to get an injury, then you might be in trouble because Ramsdale hasn't really played this season, which is why I think Henderson will be the third keeper. Henderson's having a good run, and we know Southgate likes Palace players, but be interesting to see what he does in the friendlies, in the two friendlies. Because you think in one of the games he's going to give one of the other keepers a shot, but we'll see.
Yeah, two friendlies coming up. Obviously, one of them at Wembley. Taking my daughter to her first England game that night.
Brilliant.
The guy's football obsessed. Malcolm Cabana he's put Ramsdale in goal. Also Trippier at left back. Matt, do you think we do? I don't think Shaw makes it. Would you rather see Gomez there than Trippier?
Oh, 100%. Trippier, I think, can do a job there, but Gomez has played there probably like 20, 30 times, knows the role. And as I say, you put Gomez in any one of those back four positions and he will do an 8 out of 10 job every single game, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ryan Wells has gone Pickford, Walker, Maguire, Stones, Trippier, left back, Trent, Declan Rice, Saka, Bellingham, Foden, Harry Kane. Chris, again, another one's got the second, but another person's gone Ramsdale. Ramsdale seems to be quite popular, but he's gone Trippier at right back, Dunk, Gomez, Stones. Ryan? No, Chris. Chris, Cupcake. He's
Sorry, Cupcake. Yeah.
Portsmouth fan. Ryan supports the mighty Leeds United. Chris has gone. Yeah, he's gone. Ramsdale, Trippier, Dunk, Gomez, Stones, Bellingham, Rice, Palmer, Kane, Foden. I might have missed one out there, Chris. I think you only got 10 players. But yeah, Ramsdale seems to be cropping up on the radar. I think he's a good keeper. Chris, Tamfield, big Dunstable Town fan, just finally has gone. Pickford, Walker, Braithwaite, Dunk, Alexander at left back, Declan Rice, Bellingham holding, Foden, Palmer, Saka, and Super Harry up front. I want to see Bellingham play as far forward as he can. If he's standing up there with Harry Kane at some point, I don't care. I think the guy is that good. Mel, this end the show, my man. Give us a Euro 2024 prediction. Who, in your opinion, don't let your heart rule your head, but in your opinion, who wins Euro 2024?
We're going to win it, mate.
He said it. He said it. He said
Without even doubt.
He's without even doubt. Matty, who's winning?
I'm very confident.
Matty, who's winning the Euros?
Oh, my heart says England. Head says Germany.
Germany. Home soil have they picked up a little bit. Never write off the Germans, as much as it pains me to say it. I mean, they always produce. Part of the last Euros was probably their worst and I can remember it, living memory. For me, they always turn up in big tournaments. For me, I think we win it, and I think we win it comfortably. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think if we play to our potential, we've got the best goal scorer that I've seen in my lifetime. We've probably got some of the best midfielders that attacking wise that I've seen since like Paul Gascoigne and Barnes and Waddle and Hoddle and all them guys. Defensively, it worries me a tiny bit, but when you've got the pace of a Kyle Walker back there, John Stones he's been tremendous for Man City this season, albeit he's kind of played in that midfield role. For me, I think England have got so many players that just know now how to get the job done nearly. For me, I can't see anything other than England winning the Euros. This podcast will probably come back to bite me in the arse because we're probably losing a semi-final. If it goes to penalties, then yeah, it's a lottery, but who knows? But yeah, we're going to keep coming back with these shows, myself, Matt, and like I say, we've got some great guests lined up. I've been beavering away on the old emails and DMs today. I've slid into more DMs today than Kim Kardashian's Taylor. I mean, it's ridiculous. Mel, thanks so much for joining us, mate. Just if any of our listeners want to catch you on social media, mate, where can they find you? I know you've just done a great interview with Rob Key, which I urge everyone to go and listen to. We'll retweet it if you tweet the Talk of the Town podcast. But where can our listeners find you, mate?
Well, if you want to hear the Rob Key interview, I actually did the interview in January. It was only released a couple of days ago. It's on a podcast called EdTech Unwrapped, and it's really talking about not just what Rob's done with the England cricket team and transformational change. It's really looking at that in a different context. So that's where the interview with Rob Key is. On Twitter, I'm at Melstarsg. That's MELSTARSG. And I do tweet about football now and again.
Massive Tottenham
fan. Probably less these days, but yeah, still
massive on there. Tottenham fan. Matt, just really quickly, any Dunstable news to tell us while we're here?
Well, there might be one or two little bits, buddy. I mean, it might have escaped people's notice, but we are now the national awarded Community Club of the Year, courtesy of the non-league paper. So yeah, really, really, really pleased with that. Honestly, it goes to show all the tremendous work that everybody's been doing behind the scenes. Both with our walking football groups, our mental health groups, and obviously all the other local bits and pieces that we're doing. I'm so chuffed to have been able to go along with Andrew and Ian yesterday and be all that. There will be more news about that soon, so stay tuned. I think there's one or two friendlies that we're looking to fill still. So if people notice Steve's tweets, that I think there's like one pre-season friendly we're trying to fill. But yeah, it's all systems go. Hopefully for the restart in June 15th, is it?
June the 18th, back pre-season training. Not that that's etched in my brain and I'll be coming to watch. And then the season starts. We're pretty much football. As soon as we hit July, we're back watching football every Saturday and Tuesday. Steve's lined up. Speaking to him the other day, I think we've got some great friendlies lined up, which I'm pretty sure will be announced maybe in the next week or two.
Very, very soon.
Very, very soon. I know so few non-league teams are putting out their friendlies today, but you can find us on Twitter at DTFC Pod. I've set us a goal of getting over 1,000 subscribers on since we've started this YouTube by July the 20th. 27th. So anyone listening to this, if you enjoy the England content, just go to YouTube, type in Dunstable Town FC, hit like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That would be really doing us a favour. But I've been your host, Andy Burrows. This has been the Talk of the Town podcast. Till next time, everybody, as always, up the Mighty Blues.